This is the final segment of Jones and Company today with Ray Winder. Godfrey?
Mr. Winder, we've heard all kind of criticisms of VAT, right? And just this past week in the House of Assembly, one of the members proposed income tax. What is your view on that?
Well, when you look at how delinquent our governments have been relative to collecting taxes, I think it's a whole lot easier to collect VAT than it is to collect, well, depending now, let me back up from that, right? Because some could say with the national insurance and so forth and so on, right? I think at some point in time, we need to look at income tax. But I think to just put it out there without looking at all of the ramifications and all, looking at the system in terms of working with, I think is a challenge. But I do believe my personal position on taxes general is that I think we've had a patchwork type situation here, and VAT represents another patchwork. But it is broad. It does have the capacity to collect some revenue, but I think income tax at some point in time, if not today, has to be put on the table to be looked at.
But Mr. Winder, the Bahamian economy doesn't have the depth and breadth for all of these taxes that you're talking about, you know. Customs duties, real property tax,
Gas
VAT,
tax on gas. You go to buy
Business
gas.
license
tax,
Yeah.
business license
Yeah.
tax, national insurance.
Yeah.
I agree.
We don't have the breadth and depth for the kind of taxes that you're talking about, you know. And there are a whole lot of businesses now
That's what making it.
that are in deep trouble because of the number of taxes that they have to pay.
I agree.
So, as an accountant, what is your advice on how we are going to grow this economy while at the same time, Mr. Winder, imposing these taxes?
Mr. Jones.
And in addition to imposing them, you got the hatchet in your hand to decapitate the fellow who don't pay. Even though
That's not going to decapitate him. He'll survive.
even though the fellow's screaming and he says to you, this recession, Mr. Winder, has not ended. The recovery didn't hit the Bahamas. And I am paying 7 taxes.
Right.
And now you're imposing VAT. What am I going to what am I going to do to be saved?
Well, I'm glad you see. This is the reason why when I talk about this subject, it's a big subject. It is one that is vexing to my system because, take for example, business license.
Yes.
I think it's wrong, and you tell me whether you
Business
disagree.
license is wrong.
Let me tell you what is wrong. For a company to pay the government
And losing money.
$1.5 million in business license and only make $700,000.
Yeah, losing money. Yeah.
That don't make no kind of sense anywhere in the world, because it goes to the point that you mentioned. What is the encouragement to that company now to
expand,
to do more?
Yeah.
You know, this is why I'm saying this patchwork of taxes and different things we have. You know, it just it lacks the capacity to be creative, to create business. It is one dimensional. Collect some money.
So let's go back to the point. The point is that the business paid the government $1.5 million
Right.
in business license fees
And made $700,000 or $900,000.
and made $700,000 in
Right.
profit.
Yeah.
So the government got more out of the deal
Than
than the business.
That's right.
But Mr.
So the business is really working for the government.
That's true.
Yeah.
And guess what? You should ask how much the bike got. So between the bike and the government, now you're doing this.
It's almost foolhardy.
It is.
For some businesses to remain.
I agree. And I think this is a very important point that we need to be aware of, because, and this is something that the government, government is so, and I would say anti-business, but they so think that businesses are out there making a lot of money that they really don't have their fingers on the pulses as to what drive profitability and what, they lost sight of that, right? And what's happening in our country today? There are two types of businesses that are really surviving and thriving. The big behemoth businesses, which will be, the super values, the Kellys, those ones that, who are established and been around and so forth. They are holding their own, many more like that, some more like that. And then you got persons who do their business from their house. They don't have the DC, they don't have the overhead, But as soon as they step out of their house, they run into trouble. They have to open a shop. And so those two, everyone else in between are struggling. Some are doing good, but it is a big struggle to be in business in this country. So it's not just a creativity thing. It's a real cost issue. There's a limit on what Mr. Jones can do in this economy. Dude, that's the reality to it. I don't care how innovative and creative he is. I mean, there's a ceiling on that.
Mr. Winder, you are the Minister of Finance, right? Mm-hmm. You're the Minister of Finance. You realize that your deficit is too high. Mm-hmm. You realize that you got to do something with the deficit.
Right.
The IMF is telling you, right, that if you come to us for money, right, we can introduce an austerity program.
Right.
That's what IMF can tell you now.
I agree.
And that austerity program may mean
painful,
laying off
right,
3,000-4,000 civil servants like in Barbados.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Moody's and come to you and say, look here, we can downgrade you. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Because it looks as if you ain't doing nothing to address this deficit.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And we can make it more expensive for you to borrow money. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's true.
You and us, you're the minister. You wind up saying now there's a patchwork of tax introductions, and therefore we need a comprehensive picture.
Right.
To get that, right? To get that comprehensive picture, it can take 2 years.
No, it shouldn't.
So it take 2 years, right?
It shouldn't.
So that's the scenario now. What you gonna do?
Well, first of all, I disagree that it will take 6 years.
All right, okay,
it can take 2 years. I disagree with that. I think
you're gonna do a comprehensive study on
not study. I'm talking analysis in terms of where the yield has been coming from and the impact of those various taxes on the economy.
So you get the information, right?
Right.
Then you got to introduce a program to address it.
Then I got to introduce a program. Do I got to come with new taxes or
That's
change the whole
That's 2 years, Mr. Winder.
No, it's not 2 years, but that has to be done. Because guess what? If you don't do that, you run into the same challenge that Mr. Jones is talking about, where you have someone paying, or the point I brought, someone paying business of taxes of 1.5 and only making 700,000 or 800,000, or you pay VAT. So unless you do that, and because I do agree with the point, Mr. Jones.
My question,
No, I just told you. My biggest concern is how I want to drive this economy and make this private sector grow. And I think you need that kind of information, and you need to make those kind of changes. And I think the other big part is that, the reality is the government needs to look at where it's spending money and where are we getting value for those dollars.
Well, the bottom line is, and we have to close the program off now, is that the buoyancy is not there for the imposition of the kind of taxes that you want. The economy just cannot support.
Well,
because the economy is not growing.
Right,
Mr. Winder. It's not growing. It's not a buoyant economy, as I said, with depth and breadth. To impose the kind of taxes that you want.
What you can do?
Grin and bear it. Thank you so very much, Godfrey. Thank you, Mr. Winder.
Thank you very much.
You're very kind to come here at very short notice. But he is my friend and my neighbor.
Always a good guest.
Yes, absolutely. Always a good guest. And I tease him for every other Saturday. I say, you don't come often enough,
When you guys don't invite me anymore.
Well, we don't invite you. We figure you should stay home with Sandy. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Good evening, everyone.